Hi everyone, Ariana here from Well Fed Photography. I hope you enjoyed our recent episode of Living a Life Well Fed with Linda Monahan from Pilates with Linda. It was a fantastic episode. I really encourage you to go back and listen if you haven't listened already. I am making a little mini episode this week because I realized I missed a fantastic opportunity in my interview with Linda to really present a varying perspective when it comes to body size, body image, body positivity, and just how people maybe regard individuals of a smaller size and how they may regard themselves. So in our interview, Linda really brought up this interesting point that a lot of times people that are not the size that they want to be assume that if they're a smaller size, they'll be happier. And she also made a really interesting point about seeing people online who maybe are like a size 6 or a size 8, and she mentioned them trying to look like they were bigger than they were, or maybe trying to emphasize their postpartum bodies more than what it seemed that they should be doing. And I actually feel like it's so important to discuss this because what I didn't share was that I am in that size 8, size 6 body. I kind of fall in that 6 to 8 size range depending on whatever line of clothing I'm wearing. And just because you're a particular body size does not guarantee that you are going to be full of self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, self-happiness, satisfaction. That really doesn't depend on a number, doesn't depend on a number on the scale. And in fact, I think there's a perspective that's often missed from people that are on the smaller end of the clothing size scale, the smaller end of the body weight scale. And that is the fact that sometimes we might be worried that we look too small. And I know you're going to laugh and you're going to think this is funny, but I remember I had a food intolerance triggered after having my son, and it took me 9 months to figure out what was going on. But in the interim, I was sick after almost every meal. I was eating really well. I was eating a really balanced diet. I was eating nutritious foods, and I was still getting so sick, and I did not know what was happening. So between breastfeeding my son and having this food intolerance triggered, I was losing weight rapidly because I was literally sick after almost every meal. And I was losing weight so rapidly, I literally got worried about what people would think of me, if they would think I had an eating disorder. I was so self-conscious about showing up to like toddler play groups or like baby play groups, as I was recovering as well from the food intolerance, because it took time to heal from it as well, to change my diet and to let myself heal from it. So I remember during that time, like being worried to even post photos on social media, even in private, like breastfeeding groups and things, because I was worried that people would think I was sick, but not like from a food intolerance. I was worried people were going to think that I had an eating disorder and that I was losing weight because of that, when that just wasn't the case. So there can be these fears as well about being too small. And we certainly, through a lot of body positivity movements, there is this conversation around real women and real bodies and what that looks like. And often the point of those campaigns, or the point of that narration, is to talk about people that are perhaps more shapely, who have a beautiful, pear-shaped figure, or they've got the gorgeous apple bottom, or maybe they're of a larger size, maybe they're plus size. But what happens, and I don't think that this is meant to be the case, but what can happen through that narrative of talking about real women and real bodies is that oftentimes people that are leaner, people that maybe have a more straight body shape, they can feel as if they're receiving the message that they are not a real woman. And I've actually come into contact with this through an old colleague of mine who was discussing his preference for women, and him saying that I'm not his preferred body type in a woman, that he prefers real women, meaning women that are curvier, more voluptuous. And so I felt like I missed the opportunity during the interview, but I wanted to bring this to light. I wanted to say these things. I wanted to speak for people who are perhaps on the smaller end of the scale and who don't always have a voice, or they don't speak up when it comes to things like body positivity, and this movement towards accepting real bodies for real women, or the assumption that just because you are in a smaller body, you're living in a smaller body, you're automatically happier, because that just isn't the case. I truly feel, believe, know from my own experiences that love, self-love, self-acceptance, self-body positivity, happiness, satisfaction, those come from practicing those emotions. They don't come from a number on the scale, a certain size of clothing. They don't come from a certain type of bank account or a certain house. Yes, you can be quite happy in a certain, particular lifestyle, but if you're practicing dissatisfaction, it doesn't matter what number you see on the scale. It doesn't matter what clothing size you are, what your bank account looks like, what your house looks like. If you're practicing dissatisfaction, more than likely you will go on to continue being dissatisfied with your life. So I highly encourage, if people want to get more in touch with themselves, if they want to feel happy, they want to feel satisfied, is to practice those feelings on a regular basis and put the emphasis on that practice versus anything external to themselves. And I know that we live in our bodies, but a number on a scale, or a size on a piece of clothing are still external to our being. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to continue the conversation, and I'll chat with you soon. All the best. Bye.